Hey folks, Keith Norby back again with another Partner Solutions video. This week we have Paul Manti. Paul's on my team addressing EDA. And Paul, why don't you walk us through what is EDA? What the heck do we even do in that space?
That's a great question, Keith. So EDA stands for electronic design automation. And it's really the whole semiconductor industry, which of course is in the news a lot today as we're working to meet ever greater demands. So electronic design automation is all about the processes that you go through to create, test, verify, validate, and then build semiconductor chips. And the industry's always had some very interesting challenges. It's always been very, very concerned primarily about a couple of things. How do we keep the productivity high of the developers? Because the developers are the most expensive resources that they face as they're taking chips from concept into production. And then how do they use the licenses that they use, whether they're Siemens or Synopsys licenses or Cadence or Ansys licenses, how do they keep those as highly utilized as possible? Because those licenses are the second biggest cost that those companies face in developing chips. So the other big challenge now, in addition to productivity and licensing, is that the features of the chips, the size of the actual transistors and gates, is getting down into the single digit nanometer type sizes. So 5 nanometer, 3 nanometer features. And that's doing some very interesting things from a data management perspective. There are much more files now to describe a chip, and then those files are getting much, much bigger. So companies are facing an extraordinary challenge of how do I provision data or storage fast enough into my data centers in order to keep up with the demand. And that's one of the reasons really that they're turning to the public cloud.
So what does NetApp do in this space to really matter?
Well, that's a great question. So first and foremost, NetApp has got a native presence in all of the major clouds. So our ONTAP operating system is built in and natively available at Amazon or at Google or Azure, and is the same experience in the cloud that you would have on premises, which makes bursting into the cloud for EDA workloads a seamless transition. So we have a solution we call Design Anywhere, which takes native ONTAP both in the cloud and on premises, and eliminates all the challenges of syncing up my data between those two images. So there's a technology we bring called FlexCache, which keeps those images in sync and allows the developer to develop where he's used to developing and take advantage of the cloud without even being aware that he's in the cloud.
So does this mean that we can help them create more chips, or what do they really want out of this?
Well, so yes, being able to create more chips is certainly a huge driver. The start of a chip now in the 5 and 3 nanometer space is starting to be close to $1 billion, which means if you're making that kind of investment, you want your developers to be as productive as possible. That's one thing that NetApp does, is we've got some technologies available called snapshots and flex clones that enable developers to become 10, 12% more productive. It converts the wasted time of waiting for a verification environment, with their testing environment, to be checked out and built. So instead of spending an hour and a half waiting on that, we can use NetApp technologies like flex clones and get them up running in 2 to 5 minutes.
So doesn't everybody have snapshots? What's the difference here?
Well, what's really different is we're putting those capabilities. First of all, NetApp Snapshot scales better than anybody else's. It's available both in the cloud as well as on premises. But most importantly, we're putting that power into the hands of the developers so that the developers can take a snapshot or make a backup copy at a point in time that's relevant to them, not necessarily the time that's relevant to IT.
So you really don't have to be a storage admin to be able to take these snapshots. It's just part of the working set. And, so explain just one last moment here. What is it about what we do for EDA that allows them to create more feature sets in a chip, and why does that matter to them?
They're working to a finite schedule. So most people in EDA, they're part of a platform, and the date they need to deliver is the date they need to deliver. So if we can help them become more productive by eliminating that wasted time, that means from a minor impact, they can bring a better quality chip. But as you just said, the big thing that means is they can bring a bigger feature package, or they can trade off some of that productivity towards improving the chip characteristics, the power, performance, and area characteristics of the chip, and therefore become more profitable. So that trade-off really is about, in one direction, I can create a better competitive advantage for the company, create more revenue. On the other hand, I can improve the profitability of the company. So there's really some big leverage knobs that NetApp can help bring to these semiconductor development companies.
Yeah, it's amazing. The smaller you get on this technology, the more it feels like in the Marvel movies when you get the quantum realm, and it just expands the entire, sort of redefinition of reality and the perception of all things that are possible. So thank you for unpacking EDA and the whole chip sector and what we do in that space. See you next week on another video.